Hello and welcome to Wellness Wednesday Inspiration. I am Linda Marquez Guerin coming live from lovely Lake Havasu City, Arizona. As you can see, my partner is not here with us today. She is on the plane somewhere heading back to the States. So anyways, as we do every single week, we want to make sure that we're bringing you something of value, something that's going to help you have just be a better human being, a better person. And that's why it's called Wellness Wednesday Inspirations, to give you a little inspiration for your midweekday Wednesday. So today is going to be no exception. So if you've heard about 75 Hard, I've been posting a few things about that I am actually doing that. However, it's been an interesting, let's just say, journey. It's a transformational journey. And I wanted to give you a couple different perspectives. I'm going through it. I have an amazing guest that we're going to talk and we're going to chit chat. We never know where our conversation is going to go, but I know that you're going to get tremendous value from it. But my co-host guest today is going to be Christopher Rauch, and he is an author. He's a speaker. Maybe he doesn't like to be called this, but he's a motivational coach. And also, I like to call him the no excuses coach, because that's what he is. He doesn't take crap, and he's like, we're just here to get things done. He's also a father. He's a husband. He's just an extraordinary human being. And anytime you meet with him, within like the first few seconds, you're like, oh, you just feel like you can let your guard down. This is a guy that has like no judgment, just loves you for who you are, and really wants to help you be the best version of yourself. But when you're with him, the best version of you just comes out. So that's what I just love about him. I'm just so honored to just call him my friend, my mentor, my coach. And he's like a brother to me, and I love him dearly. So let's bring on my dear friend, Christopher Rauch.
What's up, Linda? Good to see you. Thank you so much for that introduction. I'm gonna go back and record that and play that for other people. So thank you. It's an honor to be here. I love you so much, and you're just such an inspiration to me. So when you said, "Hey, you want to come here and jam?" I'm like, "Hell yes!" So let's rock and roll.
We always have so much fun, and I tell people you never know what to expect with us, because we're just real. We're for reals.
For reals, man. No BS.
And when we get together, our conversations, yes, our colorful language comes out, the nuances that we each have, but I always have a blast. But I always walk away just feeling just inspired to be even a better person. So thank you for that.
I agree. And totality is complete, because yes, you have done so much in my life, from helping me with my health and everything else, and just being a great mentor and a great friend. So it's always an honor to be here with you and just sharing. And I just love the fact that you've been doing this podcast. I know before you were like, I don't know about doing it, and you've been doing it. You've been rocking and rolling it. So I'm excited to be here with you.
Yeah, well, thank you. Well, today we're going to chat about 75 Hard, the journey. So kind of just to preface for some of the people that don't know what it is, there's different phases of it. And basically it's 5 daily tasks for when you start 75 Hard, the journey. And it's more of a transformational journey. That I was checking out a few things on Andy Frisella's website in regards to it, but he likes to call it as tactical guide to winning the war with yourself, or a quote unquote Ironman for your brain. And what that consists of, at least the 75 day hard part, is 75 consecutive days of a gallon of water, 2 workouts a day, 45 minutes each. One has to be outdoor, one indoor. A clean diet, meaning no alcohol, no cheat meals, pretty much no sugar. So you follow an eating template that's going to work for you. But I think it should include no sugar, no alcohol, no junk food. That's just my perspective. Number 4, 10 pages of personal development. And number 5, the progress picture every single day. And you have to do these for 75 consecutive days. Once you miss a day, you got to start over. So you're on your second round. So tell me where you are and why you started it.
Actually, I completed my second round I completed it on August, let's see, my wife's birthday was August 11th because she did it with me, and she was a little upset because she was, I can't drink on my birthday. And I'm like, no. So it ended that Saturday, which I think was like August 14th or something like that. So yeah, that was my second round. And honestly, it was amazing. It was really, really good. It was, for me, I did it back in September of 2019 on a whim because I was listening to Andy, and I was like, when he was talking about it for the first couple of months, I was like, that's ridiculous. I don't need to do that, blah, 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 giving myself all sorts of excuses, thinking about it. And then I was just going through this weird process in my mind and just thinking about, what am I really made of? What is my best, And I sat there and I thought about it. I remember it was a Sunday, the first time I did it. And I said, I'm going to do 75 hard tomorrow. And my wife's like, what? And I told her what it was, and she's like, you're going to do that? And I was working and all sorts of stuff was going on. And I was like, yeah, I'm going to do it. And so just overnight I decided to do it, and I did it. And it taught me so much that this year I was sitting there thinking about it again. I was like, man, I want to do a different program. I want to do something, combining Andy Frisella and Tim Ferriss's 4-Hour Body. And I just kept trying to rearrange it. I'm like, why am I trying to rearrange something? Oh, because I think it's challenging and I want to have a little leeway. So I was like, no, fuck that. I'm going to do it. And now I'm going to actually add on to it. I'm going to do it during summer, which, summertime, hanging out by the pool, having beers and pizza and barbecuing and all that other stuff. I was like, I'm going to do it through summer too. And I did it. And it was one of the best experiences of my life, in the fact of what it teaches you and what you realize that you're really about. What about you? How's it been for you? This is your first time doing it, right?
This is my first. I'm actually doing 75 hard now, and we can chat about the different phases after that. But yes, and I kind of toyed around with the idea probably over a year now. And then I just decided, you know what, I'm just going to do this. It's like, what do I have to lose? I said, it shouldn't be that hard. I have a pretty disciplined eating plan already. For me, I thought that the challenge was going to be the water and taking a daily picture of, your progress. And honestly, I think after the first week, water was no problem. Picture first thing in the morning. I don't care what I look like. I'm in there in my underclothes. I'm in front of the mirror. I take a picture and I'm like, bam, knock that out of the way. My diet's already pretty dialed in, but I'll tell you one thing, what I did give up occasionally, now this is very occasionally, I will have blue tortilla corn chips from Trader Joe's. They're organic. They're super clean.
No, you didn't. No, you don't.
I don't eat that now.
Bad girl. Oh my God.
And what else did I have? And this is all Trader Joe's stuff. The dark chocolate ginger, because my husband loves those. So I would just grab a handful when he's munching on some. So that was my weakness. And coffee. So I gave up coffee, and then...
Why'd you give up coffee? Do you use it with cream and sugar?
I do, but not... I use coconut cream and stevia, but I thought I was just addicted to coffee, and it's always been a challenge for me to not do coffee. So I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to remove it. Because I think it's more of a mental thing. For me, it was like, I want to be able to conquer this. And the other thing was, that I would occasionally have, maybe every time I went to California, I would do this. I know this sounds bad, and don't judge me, but I actually would go to a place that had the best apple fritter donuts. And I would buy one, not one, I would take that back, I'd buy two. Those things are big. Anyways, that was my weakness. And I know with the gluten, the sugar, the dairy, and all the crap in there, I would still eat it and I feel like crap. Then I know how to kind of remove the toxins from my body, but it takes me a few days. So anyways, that's kind of why I wanted to do it, to just make sure that, hey, I think this is more of a mindset, and I want to be able to, anything that's going to make me a better version of me and help me master my mind, that's what I want to do.
Hell yeah.
So what's been the hardest part for you?
The hardest part for me, honestly, was the 2 workouts. Given my back situation, which you know about, and the pain that I was going through, some days that was a little bit more challenging in dividing that up, because one of those workouts does have to be outside. So got creative on that and doing my workouts earlier in the day or late at night. We started doing yoga by the pool outside at night, like at 9 o'clock, because out here in California it was like 100 degrees still at 6 o'clock. So we would do nighttime yoga. We had solar lights and we would go out there, and we loved it. We actually should go back to doing it again. It was a great way to wind down the day, stretch out your body before you went. But the water for me wasn't a problem, because I already drink at least a gallon of water. And just to preface on that, this is one thing I found, Dr. Linda, is some people, like when I think about it, drinking a gallon of water a day for like a 98-pound person, that's kind of ridiculous. So what I go by is what the research has said, and you would know this, is drinking half your body weight in ounces of water every day. I thought that was a little bit more realistic to let people know, because some people came back to me. I ran a group called the 75 Hard Unstoppables on Facebook. And what was interesting is that group started off as 48 people. I did it for free, just my way of giving back. I said, I will coach you during this entire time for free. Jump in this group and we'll get you through this. It started off as 48 people. Then it went down to about 25 people when I kicked those people out because they weren't doing it. And then from those 25 people, it went down to about 13 people. And from 13 people, it went down to about 6 people. And ultimately, who completed 75 hard was 3 people.
Wow.
Yeah, it was pretty crazy. So the alcohol for me normally would have been a tough thing, but I was looking forward to the cleansing part of it. The food, that's a little bit challenging in a way, but once you just put your mindset around it, like it's 75 days, it's 2.5 months. If you can't live without something, then that's probably saying something about what it is that your results are in life. So for me, it was just like a matter of no. It was a matter of no. Like I made macaroni and cheese for my son one night, and I love macaroni and cheese. And normally I would taste it to see if it was okay. And I was like you. I was like, you know what? I'm going to take this to the next level. I could taste it, but I'm like, no, I'm not touching anything that's bad. And I didn't. And sometimes it was challenging because my wife, this time she did it with me, but the first time she would cook bacon, or not bacon, but she would cook stuff, and or cookies. One time she cooked cookies, and I'm like, I have to leave the house because I want some of this. But ultimately, when you decide that you decide the challenge is what's going to make you greater, then for me, it was kind of like this weird thing. I was like, okay, I'm looking forward to testing myself and not doing those things. So, the other big challenge for me was sometimes I would go to bed so exhausted, and I would take my picture at night. And sometimes I would get into bed and get all curled up and ready to go to sleep. I'm like, oh my God, I didn't do my picture. And I used the app this time. I don't know if you use the app, the 75 Hard app. It was $5 on the Apple store. And I thought, it's just great. And it causes you to check everything off and make sure. And it will give you a reminder before midnight. It'll say, you didn't check these things off. And so there was a couple of times where I had meant to do my second workout, and then I got caught up with things and got Jackson to bed and everything. It was like 10:30 at night, 11 o'clock at night. And all of a sudden it dawned on me, like, wait a minute, I didn't do my second workout at noon. Oh, I need to go do that right now. So you put on your shoes, you go for a walk, you go do something. And it's amazing what you can accomplish. So aside from that, what for you was challenging when you go out and met with other people?
It really wasn't, because for me, it was more of a mindset. And it was just being true to my word. And I've encouraged other people to do it. And I think for me, it was just like a judgment towards other people, not towards myself. Like, oh, I'll do it when this. They'll tell me, I'll do it with you when this.
Right.
Because those circumstances weren't perfect. And to me, it's just like, these are the perfect circumstances, because you learn how to navigate through challenges in life. There was a time where I had to drive 8 hours to another state. So I got up earlier. I worked out in the morning. As soon as I got there, I did another workout. I had to find ways to be creative. I was driving for 8 hours. I had to get my gallon of water in, right?
Did you carry a bladder with you?
Right. And we packed our food because we stayed at an Airbnb. I didn't want to stay at a hotel, so I just stayed at an Air. So a lot of it's just planning. And I made up in my mind that I'm going to do this no matter what. I'm going to find a creative way to do this. And I really believe that once you put that out in the universe, I said, God will give you wisdom. You'll get guidance. And it was during my birthday as well. I'm not a big drinker. I could tell you how many times I've had alcohol in the last 5 years, probably count them all on one hand.
Wow.
So I'm not a drinker, so that wasn't a big deal for me. But I think just kind of navigating all that, because I drive back to California, that's 5 or 6 hours sometimes. I got to get up earlier. There was a time where I got up at 4 a.m. to go to Mexico with a friend. So I had to do 2 workouts that day as soon as I got home. And it was okay. One was like 4 in the afternoon, and then another one was like at 8:30 in the evening. So you just do it, and I think that's where you and I are we're committed.
You have to be, no excuses. I mean, if ultimately I think about this, Linda, it's like, when you make a promise to yourself and you make that commitment and you decide what your best is and you raise your standard, it's amazing what BS that you could stop yourself from saying. It's like, oh, I don't feel like it. That's one of the biggest excuses I get as the no excuses coach. It's like, well, Chris, I just don't feel like it. I'm like, do you feel like having the results? Yes. Okay. Well, guess what? Here's what happens. Tell me about a time in your life where you grew the most. And they'll tell me 100%. It was during a challenging time. It was like during a downtime. And I'm like, do you look back at that time and are you thankful for the courage and the confidence and the tenacity and the willingness to get through that? Don't you appreciate that now because it's made you a better person? And they'll undoubtedly always say yes. And I'm like, okay, well, when you make a commitment and a promise to yourself to do something for yourself, and you make the sacrifice for whatever it is, it's amazing what you realize that you do in other areas of your life. You sit there and go, oh, I'll do that later. I don't feel like it. You're like, no. I don't care if I feel like it or not. I want the results. So I'm going to sit here and make the commitment right now to do this, to take the action. And it's amazing. The people that went through the program, they learned so much about their excuses and found out that they didn't have a big enough why. Their why was running away from their life. Their why was the short-term goals. Their why was, trying to ignore everything that was going on. Like you said, I had one person saying, she's told me this all the time. She's like, oh, Chris, I want to work with you. Chris, I want to work with you. I can't afford it. I'm like, well, and she was in bad shape and all this stuff. And I said, well, listen, you can come in this group for free and I will coach you during this the whole entire time. You don't have to spend any money. You can go to the library. You can do this. And I guarantee you 75 days later, you will have ultimate confidence. You will feel so much better about yourself. You'll be so much healthier. People in your life, you're going to have no time for the BS anymore. And it was like, oh, well, I have, and she had excuse after excuse after excuse. And I just wrote her back and I said, well, good luck with that.
Yeah.
I was like, if you don't want to love yourself, if you don't want to take these opportunities, and so many people, oh, it's so hard. I'm like, it's not that hard. If you have that mindset and that perspective that it's going to be hard, of course it's going to be challenging. But at the end of the day, do you want to come out of it feeling better? And for me, it was about studying people who persevere and who get through those things and learning their mindset adaptabilities for me. So I knew in those times where it was like day 37, I was like, oh my God, nobody's excited for me anymore. Nobody's watching me anymore. It's like you're in the middle of it and you're like, okay, I still got all these days to go. And geez, I got this coming up and I got that coming up. I had to fly to Detroit during 75 hard this year. I don't fly without drinking. I don't fly. Plus being, from COVID and everything else, I hadn't been outside. And I was like, okay, now I got to take 2 planes to get to Detroit by myself. My wife wasn't going because it was a wedding, and then do all that, no drinking, do the workouts, do the eating. I got to the hotel at like 11 o'clock at night when I got in there, and I still had to do my workout and I still hadn't eaten anything. And I thought the hotel would be near something and there was nothing around. So then I went on DoorDash and I was like, okay, let me find something that's got a healthy salad. That took a while. I got dinner like at 1 o'clock in the morning and went to sleep, got up and did my walk, went to the wedding, did all those things. You just get adaptable, you get flexible. And what you said before was massive is you have to plan. You have to plan. And so many of us just don't plan.
Yeah. And I love what you said earlier about the water part for maybe a person that's smaller. Okay. I'm not small. I'm 130 some pounds. So I drank a gallon of water. A lot of people are saying, oh, I'm getting cramps. So I would take magnesium and electrolytes. What did you do? Did you add anything to take any supplements or anything?
No, actually, no. I've always got my blue bottle right here. It's 32 ounces, and I put a packet of Propel in there that gives it flavor, and I drink at least 4 of those a day already. So for me, the water wasn't the issue. The water is the issue when I was commuting, because you had to sit there and plan okay, I'm going to be sitting in traffic for 2 hours, so I would drink a bunch of water earlier in the day and then tone down before I had to make my commute. And then I would pick it back up when I got home. So I had to get creative, because there was a few times where I was sitting in traffic. I'm like, okay, this is going to be fun. So, God's honest truth, I went on Amazon and I bought this little bladder thing that guys can use on the side of the road. So I was like, okay, let's get flexible. If this is what it's going to be, I don't want to sit there and, I'm always going to be prepared. So, the water wasn't the issue. It was just usually when I did it before, when you live with other people, and I'd be interested to hear your thoughts on this. Before, when I did it with my wife the first time and she didn't do it, that was challenging, because, I'd ask her can you just, not make these things or not buy these things or necessarily. And she was like, whatever. And so it was like my self-control in some situations to be like, all right, well, I'm not going to eat that. I'm not going to taste that. And it's amazing what happens to your psychology and just to your dopamine releases and everything else. When you sit there and you make that decision, I'm not going to do that. You don't feel like you're sacrificing. You don't feel like you're losing anything. You feel like you're gaining something. You have that boost. Like, yeah, I can say no. I don't need to say yes. I don't, just because I've done it before, and I've seen people go through this process. My buddy actually went through this process. I just met him before, and I challenged him, and he goes, I'm going to quit smoking. So he actually started 75 Hard and he quit smoking, and he's feeling on top of the world. He just started an LLC. He's getting back into communication. He's feeling so much better. His skin looks better. He looks younger. It's amazing what happens. I mean, for me, one of my biggest downfalls is, I like to drink, as you know. And so when I started back on when I was ending 75 Hard, I was like in really good shape. We can show the pictures in a minute. Better shape than I was when I started, that's for sure. But for me, it was the foods. Like I have to be very, very cautious, as you know, with inflammatory foods. So once I started like, having a little bit more stuff, it was crazy. You feel immediately like I would eat something with gluten in it or something like that. And 10 minutes later, I'd feel hot and flushed. And I'd be like, oh my God. Then I noticed the next day my back hurt worse. And I just realized the foods that we put in our body, of course, I learned this from you, really do have a dramatic effect on our pain, on our inflammation, how we feel. And then if we feel like crap, then we want to go to a short-term gratification to get away from it. So for me, cleaning my diet up and getting really serious about that was phenomenal, because now when I indulge, it's like, do I want to indulge and pay the price? And some days I do, but other days I'm like, you know what? It's not worth it. I just rather eat clean and feel better so that my mental acuity is good. And the service that I provide to my clients is top notch. My shows are top notch, and you just feel better. So it's progressive as I do it. I'm gonna probably do it again in January. You just get better at it, and it just feels it just feels good. The problem I have is, like you were saying before, is the people like, oh, that's too hard. You just want to slap them. I just really do. I'm like, God, you complain so much, and it's not that hard.
Yeah.
What's so hard? You read 10 pages of a book every single day. I mean, just how much, I read like 3.5 books, 3.5 books in 75 Hard. Amazing.
What books did you read?
Let's see. This time I reread the Surrender Experiment by Michael Singer, because I love that. I didn't read the whole thing again, but I read David Goggins' book again, You Can't Kill Me. Because again, the mindset of going through the pain and doing things that you don't want to do was great. I read my buddy Princeton Clark's book. What else? I started reading a book called The ADHD Effect on Marriage, which is a great one. I started reading Psycho-cybernetics, which is another one. So yeah, I mean, it just all culminates in the fact that you just become a stronger, more confident person. You feel more alive. You have way better sleep. I track my sleep with an Oura Ring. And God's honest truth, you can look at it. When I was off 75 Hard, my sleep scores were crap. Well, not crap, but they were not as good as 75 Hard. 75 Hard, you go to sleep. I fell asleep right away. I slept soundly through the night. I didn't wake up. I didn't have night sweats. I woke up feeling refreshed. So there's a culmination factor in all of it.
That's awesome. Have you tried the chili pad?
No, I want to get that. I get night sweats all the time, but yeah, I saw that on Amazon. You have that?
I think would help you. No, I don't. My sleep is pretty good, but I do want to get it just because I just always want to upgrade my health, and I just want to be a better version of me, physically, mentally, and emotionally. And I think physically, if you feel like crap, it's hard to be a nice person. So when someone's a jerk, I'm like, I have to kind of think about, maybe something's going on with them. Maybe they have a headache. Maybe they have got news that they have cancer. Maybe something. I try to give them the benefit of the doubt now instead of judge people. And that's kind of been my experience also with this. But as far as books, I really love this one. It Takes What It Takes by Trevor Moawad.
Oh yeah. You had me watch his, I watched him on the Tom Bilyeu show. Yeah, I loved him. Straightforward dude, man. No BS.
So, and then another one was Ask the Bridge from Your Dreams to Your Destiny with Victor Hanse.
Ooh, how was that one?
And that one's good because it's all about the power of asking. We don't ask for help. We don't ask for certain things. The worst that a person can say is no. So I started asking for, like, you know what? I have nothing to lose. So I'm bartering like crazy at places. Because I'm just asking. So that's one thing. And the other one is The Abundance Book by John Randolph Price. That's an old book, and it's all about abundance mindset, how there's abundance everywhere in the world. It's just your perspective. And then right now, the other book I'm reading is The Code of an Extraordinary Mind by Vishen Lakhiani.
Never heard of that one.
So,
what's that one about?
It's about not getting dialed into the bullshit rules of life. And like he talks a little bit about You know, if you come from India, you're going to either be a doctor, a lawyer, or what's the other one? An engineer. If you're none of those, then you suck.
By whose standards?
Right? Well, that's what he's talking about. That's why the Code of the Extraordinary Mind is about you setting your own rules. You decide what's the best version of you. It's not based on what everybody else thinks. So it's an extraordinary book. So I am reading it, and I'll put these on here.
What's up, Annette? Thank you for joining us. Thank you for joining us.
So the Code of an Extraordinary Mind. And let me see what else. I'm going to read the one by David Goggins. Definitely want to read that one. And what's the other? Oh, I haven't read the 75 Hard one by Andy Frisella. Have you?
No, I haven't read that one either. I got kind of turned off by him. I haven't listened to him in quite some time. Ever since he changed from the MF CEO and he's got his, Andy AF. I have difficulties in listening to him sometimes.
Oh, well, I love him. So, and then the other one was It Takes What It Takes. So I'm going to make some notes here, but I was writing yours down too. You can send that list to me so we can post them on the show notes.
Oh, sure.
The other thing I was going to ask you, because I was just like, okay, during the journey, what was one victory that just stood out?
Flying to Detroit and back. Oh, yeah, I was in a lot of pain. Actually, I haven't taken Percocet in well over a year. I quit taking it, as you know. And I took 4 pills with me because I was like, okay, I'm not going to be stupid. Sitting on 2 different planes, sitting in the airport, all that stuff, waiting. I'm like, I know that there might be a potential for me that I'm just going to be in excruciating pain. So I took 1 pill on the way back. No, actually, I took 2 pills on the way back. And because it was a long layover. But actually, the journey of getting to Detroit, being there, being at a wedding, not drinking, wanting to party with all my friends the night before. And I was just like, no. And they're just like, oh my God, Chris, like, you're really strong. And I'm like, no, I'm just really committed. I mean, yeah, I am strong, but just really committed. I mean, there's so many, let me think, there was quite a couple of wins. Just like one time it was like 11 o'clock at night and I didn't feel like working out and got up and went out and did it. And just felt amazing when I came back. It was just like, it's so cool what you can figure out and what you can accomplish. But yeah, the flying and going to the airport, especially after COVID and everything, and just being like, okay. And normally lately I've been flying with my wife, so she takes care of everything. So I'm like, okay, make sure I have this, make sure I have this, make sure I'm at the gate. Normally I would go to the restaurant and drink. So it was like, okay, I got to do something different. So for me, that was a big hurdle because I always drink when I fly. So what about you? What was your biggest accomplishment?
Well, I'm almost done.
What day are you on again?
67. I want to say I'm 67. I'll have to look that up, but I think I'm on day 67. I'm going to be done next week. On Thursday will be my last day. I think it's just kind of going back to just remembering the greatness within me and my unlimited potential. I'm the only one that holds myself back, and just kind of going back to what you said, a lot of people, they just give a lot of excuses. I really get tired of hearing excuses, and I try to distance myself because to me, that's a person has a radio station, has their television tuned into something that I'm not in agreement with that's going to make me a better version of me. So I try to surround myself with people that's going to help me be a better person. But in return, I'm giving them something as well that's maybe going to motivate them, encourage them to, hey, I can do this. So you mentioned something interesting. When people say, oh, that's too hard, I'm like, no, being sick is hard, and trying to get your health back compared to being healthy. Yeah, healthy is going to be work. Success is work at anything, whether it's a business, whether it's relationship, whether it's, in your profession, whatever it may be, it's going to be work, and it can be hard. But if you change your perspective, then things change. And then another quote that always comes back is, don't wish for things to be better, you be better.
Yes. Who do I need to become? Who do I need to become is a great question. Who do I need to become today in order to achieve the results that I intend on working on? It's absolutely, it's a great question.
Exactly. So what about phase, so you have 75 hard, then you have phase 1, phase 2, phase 3. So did you go into phase 1?
No. Once I was done, I was like, all right, party time. Woohoo. But one thing I did incorporate from that, because when I heard him talking about phase one before, I remember one of the pieces, and correct me if I'm wrong, was taking a cold shower or something having to do with a cold shower. So I have incorporated that. Probably about 90% of the time when I'm taking a shower, I will turn it to the cold setting, and I will sit there and I will make sure my whole body is hitting the cold and practicing my breathing. I started studying Wim Hof, breathing. I took a breathworks class. So I was really, really now getting in control of my body, getting into cold water and not having that reaction, and being able to do that. So for me, I was like, okay, I'm a person that does things within reason. I still want to have a balance in life, as you know, being able to have a good time. So for me, I was like, okay, 75 hard is good, to pick up whenever I don't feel like doing it necessarily. So for me, I wasn't going to consider doing all the different phases. What about you?
Well, let me first get through get through 75 hard, and then I probably will do phase one. I'm already doing, there's three additional tasks first when you do, after you're done with 75 hard.
And you take a week off, right? You take a week off?
You can take a week off. There's 5 critical tasks you complete on a daily basis, or excuse me, 3 critical tasks. And those tasks are anything that's going to drive you closer to your goals. So you have to have an intention of what is my goal. Like if you want to write a book, if maybe you're going to start a podcast, if you're going to, whatever, you're going to, I don't know, let's say upload a new website. So you have 3 critical tasks every day. The cold shower, I've been doing cold showers for a while, so that's not a big deal. I think you and I already do a lot of the critical tasks because we have goals on a daily basis that lead to our bigger goals. And the other one, which I have not been consistent with, but I do practice it already, is the 10-minute visualization. Mm-hmm. So 10 minutes a day, you're visualizing your perfect self, your future, you doing amazing things in your life. So that's phase one. And then you go to phase two. But the interesting between phase one and phase two, you don't have any tasks, but you have to wait 30 days. So what I think what happens in those 30 days, a lot of people start to go back to their old habits. So it's really seeing how much did I really learn from this? Is this really a lifestyle for me? Because I see a lot of people go back to their old habits. But the whole point of this is really you becoming a new version of you. Mm-hmm. So that's where phase two is. And then phase three is you're basically doing the same thing with the 2 workouts a day, the water, everything from the 75 hard. You also are doing the 3 critical tasks, the cold shower, 10 minutes visualization. You perform an random act of kindness, and you talk to a stranger.
Oh, geez, I do all that stuff already.
Yeah.
I think that's one of the reasons I looked at the phases. I was like, I do a lot of that already anyway.
But do you do them consecutively for like 30 days? Because there's a lot of these, of the 75 hard, I'm like, piece of cake. I already do a lot of those. But to do them consecutively, that's a different story. That's a different challenge.
Yeah. No, I look at it that way. But again, I go back to having a little bit of a balance in life because, I want to have fun and be dedicated and be disciplined. So for me, what I did after I came off 75 hard is I went and did, I just applied, I think it was Tim Ferriss, the 4-hour body, where he was saying like 6 days, be really, really good. And then on the 7th day, because your body's been you've neglected your body, or not neglected your body, you have not had the things that you normally have. On the 7th day, you can actually enjoy some of those things and it's not going to upset your ecosystem within your body. And then you could just get back on it, the next day so that you have something to look forward to. And so I've applied that and it's been pretty good. I mean, I've kept the weight off. I think I've gained 3 pounds back and overall I lost 15 pounds. So I lost some muscle mass when I did it as well. But for me, it's, it's about striking that balance. But for me is I know that anytime I start to get out of sequence with everything, that I know, okay, I just go back to that. I literally decided this last time. I was like, okay, I'm going to do it starting on Monday. And I just made that because I knew that I needed that structure and that discipline to keep me in check.
So what's the longest you've been without alcohol?
75 hard wasn't, that's 2.5 months. I did 3 months earlier this year. I quit it for 3 months, and then I did it again. I did it again for a month, and then I did it when I did 75 hard for 2.5 months.
So why do you feel you have to go back to it?
I enjoy it. I enjoy it. It's my one relaxing thing that takes me from being like to and just I just feel normal. I just feel like, otherwise I'm just like so in my head and just so amped up and so driven that it's like after a couple of drinks, like, I can enjoy myself. I can just relax my shoulders and not feel like I have to be so on. So
well, that's where I'm gonna challenge you on meditation, because you get, personally, I get a lot out of meditation when I'm just like dialed in. I'm like in a different world, and I feel like I'm changing at a cellular level. And it's like, whoa, alcohol can't do that, and drugs can't do that. And I've worked with plant medicines, but the meditation part, that's like something that it's a daily process that you've got to work at. So I'm going to challenge you to maybe, get that dialed in. And it is, because a lot of people will smoke or drink or anything else because they're not controlling their mind, and they're dependent on an outside substance to quiet their mind or maybe let loose. I'm like, I don't need anything to let loose. It's just, I could be all crazy and fun and excited, whatever. It's just bam, and that's just shifting the mind, and that's where meditation helps, because meditation is knowing thyself.
What kind of medication? What kind of meditation do you do? Because I actually do. I use binaural beats. I do guided meditations. I do them for anywhere 15 to 20 minutes, and it helps. It helps, but again, just the monkey brain in my mind. It's sometimes exhausting to try to do it, because sometimes I talk to people and they're like, okay, try to focus on nothing, try to still your mind. Other people are saying like, listen to your thoughts, but don't become your thoughts. So for me, it's just about even just taking the time just to sit still for 20 minutes and put the headphones on and listen to the binaural beats and do my leg stretches and whatnot. I see that it does help. For me, the best thing that helps with that is journaling. Do you journal?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I have a gratitude journal daily. I'm writing it daily. Sometimes twice a day. In the morning, I do what's called preemptive journaling. I'm basically journaling how amazing my day went and everything that I'm grateful for and how it happened. And most of the time, it does happen that way. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah, I do something. I've started something. I don't know if we talked about it before, but something I've been doing the gratitude for probably about 1.5 years. So when I wake, I used to go to sleep. Well, I still go to sleep, and I say out loud what I'm grateful for as my head hits the pillow. Like last night I was saying, I'm grateful for the people I met. I said their names. I'm grateful for this. I'm grateful for that. I'm grateful I had a great show. I'm grateful my family's safe. So I say that out loud. But then what I started doing is like, I read Aubrey Marcus's book, How to Own the Day. And sometimes we never think about owning the day. We think about, okay, I got to own this month. I got to own this quarter. But realistically, when you set out to own the day, then those days multiply, and that compound interest creates an amazing life. So I decided, and it wasn't in the book, but I started to say, okay, well, I'm going to wake up in the morning and start my day with gratitude, because oftentimes we wake up and we hit the alarm clock and we're like, oh shit, I got to do this. And I wonder if this is going to be, and we start just like pontificating in our brain and setting our subconscious mind up for, okay, I'm going to go find validation in those things to prove that my thought the day was going to go crappy. So now I wake up and I say what I'm grateful for. With my eyes closed, before I even open my eyes, I say what I'm grateful for. And then I added this. I say what my intentions are for the day. And I can't remember where I read this or where I heard this, but it's like, how often do we really set the intention before we get out of bed of what person we're going to be and what things we're going to do in the world? So that for me, Linda, has been absolutely amazing. It's like, because when you're going through your day, then you can sit there and ask yourself, you can check yourself and go, is this in conjunction with my intention that I set this morning? Am I acting in congruence with my intention? Am I being the person that I said I was going to be today? And if you're not, you can sit there and put a hammer on that and decide to stop it. And I've done it so many times. I'm like, I didn't intend on being an asshole of a father. So I'm going to go take 5 minutes, take some breaths, and then I'm going to come back here and I'm going to reset the intention to be present and playful. And when you catch yourself doing that stuff, the time distance between catching yourself and changing it dramatically drops. And you just sit there and go, you think, okay, no, that's not being present and playful. You catch yourself, and the more you catch yourself, the stronger you get, and you realize in situations that you always have control over responding versus reacting. And that's another thing it taught me, is like, just stand in your place for a second, take a moment, take a beat, and ask yourself, is this in congruence with my intentions? And when you do that, you just get a little bit of dopamine release. You're like, okay, I caught myself. I'm stronger than I really thought. Because so many people out there today don't think they're strong, don't value themselves. They think they're worthless. I mean, I was talking to people over the course of the last 18 months and giving them complimentary coaching sessions. And in doing that, I started realizing a pattern as I'm watching these people on the screen. And so I started asking the question, do you love yourself? Yes or no? Mm-hmm. And I was shocked at how many people visually on camera struggled. They're like, yeah, of course I love myself. Come on, Chris, who doesn't? And I'm like, your body language just told me no, that you struggle with that. Let's talk about that. And that's the root cause of a lot of the systems of why we neglect ourselves and why we self-sabotage ourselves, either consciously or unconsciously, is that lack of self-love. So when you do 75 hard, you're saying to the universe, you're saying, listen, I'm going to do this. I'm going to put myself first. I'm going to commit myself. I'm going to find out what my best is. And I'm going to get through this because I know that there's greater things out there for me. And when you make that decision, the universe starts opening things up and opportunities for you to say, hey, listen, if you're on this path, I'm going to give you this. But most often we're just on this path, just like, okay, I hope I survive, and I hope, wish, and pray that someday I'm going to be able to get skinny, and hope and wish and pray someday that I'm going to make money, and hope and wish and pray, and someday I attract a person, when they don't, because they haven't set their intentions right.
Mm-hmm. That is so powerful. Wow. I agree with you 100%. Now, there's one thing, I don't know if you do this, but I'm going to encourage you to do this. I actually record, and maybe anyone doing 75 hard, and I would like to get your input on this, is to record themselves and they're on their phone and listen to this every day, how they feel and how excited they are because they have accomplished 75 hard. So it's like putting them in that preemptive phase of they had already accomplished it. Like, this was the best day ever. I woke up feeling this way. My body was stronger. I finally eliminated my sugar cravings. I read these books. As a result, I'm this, and it's all positive things, and just sent more momentum for them. Do you do anything like that?
Oh yes. And when I talk to people about this, I sit there, and because you said it before, you said visualization, and I was going to key into that. I ask people, have you ever had a bad dream? Have you ever had a bad dream?
Oh, yes.
How did you wake up? What did you feel?
Like it was, my heart was racing.
Yeah. So that's the thing. Your mind does not know real reality versus perceived reality. That's why when we have a bad dream, we wake up and go, oh my God, you just felt like you were running or you were falling or something like that. Your body manifested what your brain was telling it. Your brain was seeing these things and your body went, oh shit. And that's why we wake up. That's why I can't remember the comedian's name, but there's a guy out there. He actually has to strap himself up because he wakes up in the middle of the night and he starts swinging and stuff like that because of his bad dreams. So that same process works with visualization as well. So I'm glad you brought that up, because if we sit there and take a moment in our mind's eye to see the success of whatever it is that we're going to do, and this is something I coach heavily on, is like, if you you're going to go into a challenging situation, like for me, I started using it with my boss at work. And you remember my last boss, or my last two bosses when I had my corporate job, were not good people. Let's just say that. I shouldn't say they weren't good people, but they were terrible leaders. I will say that. And so for me, when I had to go in and talk to David, I would sit there and go and visualize in my brain, okay, I'm going to walk into his office. He's going to give me that smirky grin. He's going to give me cheesy stuff like he pretends he likes me. And then he's going to say something really stupid. And I need to get this. So I need to put myself in that situation so that I don't react, so that I understand that that's just his position where he's coming from, and still to articulate what it is that I want and see it being a successful conversation. 80% of the time, I walked out of there like, yes, it worked. Sometimes it didn't work. And sometimes I was like, okay, I got triggered. I allowed that to happen. But the power of visualization in anything that we do is massive.
Yeah, I love it. Well, you and I are in sync with so many of the same processes and commitments, and just to be better versions of ourselves. So you're like the perfect person to review 75 hard with, and just the essence of what our show's about. So I want to just thank you and acknowledge you for just all the good that you're doing in the world, how many lives you're impacting, and you're having a ripple effect more than you know.
Thank you. No, it's
you're that kick-ass dude.
Well, thank you. I mean, and to your point, I think that's important to say, because I had somebody recently said something. They're like, Chris, you're always so happy and you're always so upbeat and you're always accomplishing stuff and you got it all figured out and I can't wait to be something like you and I'm like, I haven't always been like this. I have bad days. I have bad moments. I have rabbit hole moments. I have situations that are going on in my life. It's not like I have it all figured out. It's just that I know the tools, and the tools that I use as I continue to use them, they become more effective in the fact that it takes less time for me to adjust myself. So like, for example, last week I was going down a rabbit hole a couple of days, and all of a sudden I was like, okay, what do I need to do to adjust this? And what questions do I need to ask myself? So something I've been doing recently is I got these little books. And so I wrote, this one is my favorite questions. So I have a list of questions up there. So I started asking myself different questions. Am I being congruent with what I set my intention out to be this morning? Do I visualize myself being this person in 5 years? So what we do is we have an awareness. And that's the thing that's going on with people today, is they don't have an awareness of where it is that they're at. And to your point, I want to go back to this for a second. The investment of buying good food and the investment of having gym membership or whatever it is might be. To your point, I talked to somebody the other day and they're like, oh, I can't afford it, da 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 da. I'm like, are you going to be able to afford the prescription costs later on when you get diabetes? Are you going to be able to afford, having to go in and have chemo? Are you going to be able to afford that? Because we either pay now or we pay later. And for me, it's tying that to a bigger why. And so I ask people, do you have kids? What's your legacy? So ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls out there, if you're struggling with deciding whether or not to do 75 hard or do something else, figure out what your why is. For me, my why is longevity. My son's going to be 5 years old at the end of November. I'm 52 years old, be 53 in February. So for me, it's about taking care of myself and being there for him. So when I look at those short-term gratifications, like, oh, it's a Wednesday night, maybe I'll have a couple of drinks. I'm like, no, I'm going to go out there and do a walk with my son. I'm going to go out there and play with my son. So it forces me to make smarter choices, because I know that the end game is that I want to be here when I'm 120 so that I can see my son have kids and his kids have kids. And with medical technology and everything else, 53, I'm just getting started. I know we're going to be living to be over 100. So we have to make those investments right now. And one of the most important factors, guys, and we haven't talked about this, but who are your five? Who are your team? So who's been your team for you?
My husband, you're one of my, that I know that I can call or text anytime, and you, within 24 hours, you're back at me. Kimber's another one. I have a very small circle of friends. Let's just say that, because even I would say my mom, there's certain people I can just call and I can just shift like in a second, because they bring on a different perspective. But I have a really small circle. A couple other people, but a small circle of friends. And you?
Yeah, no, I use the acronym TEAM. Like, who is your team? So who is the person that you trust? Who is the person that energizes or empowers you? Who's the person that holds you accountable? And who's your mentor? Right? We all have to have those people in our lives. And I give the people the exercise, like just take a piece of paper and just draw a T and write positive, negative, and write the 5 people that you're around the most, write their names on the left-hand side and just write next to them. Are they positive or are they negative? They can't be in between. They can't be, well, they're sorted like this. They're either good for you or bad for you. They're either supporting your dreams and telling you to go for them, or they're telling you to stay complacent because they're afraid if you do your thing, that it's going to make them feel like shit. So complacency, misery loves company. So when you replace those and you find who your team is and you get around those people and you have that moment of weakness and you call your mentor, you call your accountability partner, and you're able to draw on that, that's where the strength comes for when we have those low moments. So I have you, I have my friend in Australia, I have Scott, I have so many, I have Patricia up in Canada. So whenever I have whatever moment I'm having, whether it's a spiritual moment or a financial moment or something like that, I have people on my team that I can call to and say, listen, and I'm actually calling my friend John about something. It's like, when you know that there's something going on, we have to take a responsibility to go out there and seek advice, seek counsel, or seek the internet to figure out what it is. But so many people don't take that responsibility, even to the point I had somebody tell me, you were talking about excuses. Somebody said the other day, well, it was probably about a couple months now. I said, oh, Chris, I don't know how to cook healthy. And I just sat there and looked at him. It was live. I said, so what do you suppose you could do about that? Like, yeah, I know, I just don't have time, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, it's okay. I said, are you ready to die early? Well, you can't say that, I could get by a bus, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, yeah, but you're sitting here making these excuses why you can't do something when realistically you certainly can. So it's just about having the tenacity and the mindset and having the people around you that want the best for you to sit there and say, you know what, Chris, I have somebody telling me right now, they're like, Chris, you could be Oprah big. You have that interviewing style. You have the capacity, so I have people holding me to a higher standard, and they're saying, Chris, where's that book at? Where's these things at? And, some people would say, I don't want you bitching at me and nagging at me. I love it. I love it because that's where we get the grind from. And that's where we become better, because people are genuinely interested in seeing our successes.
Mm-hmm. So the T again was what?
The T was trust.
Trust. So trust, energize, accountable, and mentor.
Yep.
Got it. That's awesome. I'm going to put that in the show notes, and I'm going to put that on my sticky note right here.
Yeah, I didn't realize how long we've been talking. I was like, oh my
I
God.
know.
We can always talk for a lot of time, but this has been fantastic. I mean, for all you guys out there watching this, whether it's live or on the replay, reach out to us. I mean, you have the strength and the capacity within you to do these things. And it's just a matter of making that decision, making that determination, seeing what the vision is for your long-term success and sticking to that and get the right people around you and stay accountable. And I promise you guys, you will feel so much better after doing 75 Hard or any program where you stick to the commitment and you see it through to the end result. So I'm Christopher Rauch. I'm the No Excuses Coach. I am so happy to be here, and I appreciate you.
Yeah, and where can people connect with you best? At your website or on Instagram?
Brand new website, ChristopherRauch.com. Go check it out. Got all sorts of fancy stuff there. Got group coaching launching. We've got all my podcasts and video casts on there, and blogs and all sorts of stuff.
All right, putting it on here. All right. We'll see everybody next week. Thanks so much. Once again, before you even think about starting 75 Harm, it's just not hard. This is a disclaimer. Always consult your physician before you start any type of health program. So we're just putting that out there. Right.
Yep.
See you all next week. Thanks so much. Bye.
Peace.